the Committee to Stop FBI Repression, and the Chicago Coalition to Protect People's Rights. I welcome you all here tonight to honor Rasmea Odeh and her over 50 years of community organizing for the liberation of Palestine and all oppressed people around the world. We had a very hard time establishing a theme for this event. Some of us wanted it to be a celebration of her life and work. Others felt that the tone these days is not very celebratory. But I think we struck a good balance with the Honor Rasmea slogan and the hashtag, because she deserves to be honored every day for the passion, commitment, heart, and soul she has given to her people for 5 decades. We also have another treasure here today, Dr. Angela Davis. Activist, organizer, former political prisoner, academic, scholar, all-around badass. She's incredibly accomplished, but she's also still so incredibly humble that when we reached out about this evening, she agreed to do it, even though she had a planned vacation that is starting this very weekend. I'm sure that this decision was influenced by your deep respect for Rasmea, but we are still so very appreciative of your presence here and all you have done over the years to support Rasmea and the defense. Thank you very much, Dr. Davis. This evening is so special that folks from all over the country are here. Representatives of USPCN, Palestinian Youth Movement, and Al-Auda, respectively, from California, Michigan, Philadelphia, and New York. Of CSFR, the Anti-War Committee, and the Welfare Rights Committee from Minnesota. Of the Young People's Resistance Committee from Milwaukee. And other friends from Ohio, Indiana, New Jersey, DC, and I'm sure I'm missing a couple others. And Miami. They left the right-wing Cubans there. We have 50 total organizational endorsers of this event. So please see them all listed on your programs. But I just want to mention a few that brought big crews tonight, including the Chicago Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression. Human Rights Network, the Crossroads Fund, Friends of Sabine North America, the Jewish Voice for Peace, Asada's Daughters, Resist, Reimagine, Rebuild Coalition, the Hana Center, the Palestinian American Community Center, American Muslims for Palestine, and so many others. Please give them all a round of applause as well. And even though I'm a bit older than most of the hip-hop fans in this room, and I prefer Public Enemy to Kendrick Lamar, I have to say that I'm pretty excited that we have a crew. We have a local product of Whitney Young High School. He's not in the room. He was supposed to be here with a crew, but the crew that is here with him, that he was supposed to be here with, is the Dream Defenders, coming from all across the country. The Dream Defenders. And Vic Mensa was going to be here with them. And lastly, we made the tickets inexpensive so that this event would be accessible to everyone. But the Defense Committee is still working very hard, and we're taking another trip to Detroit this week for Rasmea's final hearing. You'll hear more about that from the scene. So there are envelopes on your chairs that you can seal with lots of cash and big checks. Checks can be written to the USPCN with Rasmea Defense in the memo line, and you can place them in the baskets at the back of the room, and our youth will be holding baskets as you're leaving as well. Please give generously if you can. And now our co-MC tonight is a leader of the Defense Committee and of USBCN, one of the top youth organizers in the Arab community of Chicago, and a very close friend and colleague of Rasmea's. Please give it up for Nasreen Hassan.
Good evening, everybody. How y'all feeling? All right. Thank you, Hatem, for that introduction. Some of you in the room know Rasmea from the Defense Campaign, some from her organizing work, and some of you personally know her. She is many things to many people, and more than just a person. She's more than just a person who is politically targeted by the U.S. government. She is a mentor, she is a leader, and she's one of the most amazing, loving friends. When Rasmea came to Chicago to organize, she connected to our community on a personal level. She understood that in every struggle, every liberation, women bear the biggest burden. That is why she dedicated her life to the empowerment of disenfranchised women. One of the many things that I admire about Rasmea is that she uplifts the voices of women who are socialized to be voiceless. If it wasn't for her, I would not be standing here today. If it wasn't for her, I would not be calling myself an organizer. And there are many people in Chicago and beyond that would say the same. One of Rasmea's greatest accomplishments is her creation of the Arab American Action Network's Arab Women's Committee, which now has a membership of 800 Arab immigrant and refugee women. Let's give a shout out to the Arab Women's Committee. The Arab Women's Committee, or the AWC as we call it at the Arab American Action Network, it's a committee that provides a safe political and social space for these women to discuss and challenge the patriarchy, the sexism, and misogyny that they face here. She helps them combat racism they encounter in the U.S., as well as resolve cultural contradictions in the home and the broader community. Rasmea has helped transform the lives of thousands of families, and to me, that makes her as important as an organizer in our community as there is. Please check out our literature table when you go outside. It's in the hallway, and buy a book there. That book was published by the Women's Committee, and it's a great read, and it has all their personal stories, even translated. I also need to remind everybody in this room that on August 17th, this Thursday, is Rasmea's last court appearance in Detroit. If you're interested in joining us there and you haven't already signed up, please go outside and let the sign-in tables know. At the hearing, her case will be handed over to ICE. Boo. And they will determine when she must depart the U.S. But wherever Rasmea goes, she will not be leaving us. Her work continues, and she will always be in our hearts. I love you, Rasmea. Now, let's begin the program with a video made by Tom Callahan, a proud son of Ireland, and a visual storyteller who collaborates with a number of social justice movements in Chicago.
Palestinian woman. You are beautiful, you are kind, and you are strong. You are everything of Palestine. You are Palestine in her very own human form. You are a woman who never stops fighting, a powerhouse. You are a community leader. Every time I'm around you, my heart feels as though it's about to burst. You are revolution in its simplest form, a beauty, a reckoning, a light of hope. And every time I'm around you, my heart is full, ready to burst and unable to speak. You make me want to scream for revolution, to fight for our freedom. You are the woman who has brought Palestine to Chicago. Your very soul, your heart is a key in the shape of our freedom. You are history in the making. I only pray that one day I can represent Palestine with such strength as you do. I only hope that one day I can inspire other women as much as you've inspired me. Rasmea, you are our mother.
I have been a community organizer for the past 13 years with the Arab Women's Committee Project. I have spent the best years of my life with these Arab immigrant and refugee women. We protect each other and struggle for justice together.
It was like at small groups, and then it became larger and larger groups, and we developed like over 800 women over the years. Then you come to a place where it's not the same where you grow up, so it's like a big gap between the culture and the community.
Rasmea has bridged communication between her Arab Women's Committee and the youth program. So when we worked on our racial profiling campaign, our youth led it, but it was their Arab mothers and the Arab Women's Committee that stood behind them and really, motivated them to, do this work.
هذه عملية ثقافة عامة لنسائنا، كيف على تربية الأطفال، كيف ياخذوا حقوقهم، شو الواجبات اللي عليهم.
Rasmea was the one who taught me that it is very crucial for Palestinians in diaspora to play a role in Palestinian organizing. I would not be where I am today. I would not have met the friends that I have met today, and I would not have been able to communicate with my community at this level if it wasn't for her.
The activities that the Women Committee did help me gain self-confidence, and throughout the years I became a better leader, and now I'm like an organizer.
When she wasn't organizing women or organizing in the community, she was studying to get her master's degree in criminal justice, working 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night writing papers for her degree. So this is a person who's committed her whole life to her community and to empowering that community.
تاني اشي عن رسمية انه هي علمتنا انه لازم نشتغل جامد، يعني كتير لما بدنا اشي، بس في نفس الوقت لازم ننبسط. فبالنسبة لرسمية الشغل والانبساط يعني مربوطين في بعض. أول حفلة اجيت عليها لاحظت انه رسمية كانت لابسة توب مع construction boots. فأنا قلت واو، هي عشان هي عم تشتغل، عم بتحضر كل القاعة وفي نفس الوقت عم ترقص.
Rasmea Odeh has taught me to keep fighting for justice even if I'm fighting alone. Because truthfully, we are not fighting alone. We are fighting together. For the same dream, the same vision, with the same drive, and for the same reasons. In Palestine, she is waiting for us.
Rasmea's case is part of a 50-year history of silencing Arab American activists, encircling them so that they become voiceless in this society. But then her case is then part of a larger history of COINTELPRO, harassment of African American activists, Chicana activists, Native American activists. So it's part of a larger history in this country of trying to silence people who are fighting against injustice.
We've always aligned ourselves with the Palestinian Liberation Movement because It's an anti-imperialist movement, and so are we. And we got the numbers. It's more of us than it is them. And so those numbers don't mean anything in the absence of solidarity, in the absence of united struggle. Rasmea is one of the few people I know in solidarity work that clearly, sharply understands the question of black liberation.
In the Palestinian community, we believe we cannot be liberated until, black people are liberated. But I think Rasmea's case, what it touched on is like Rasmea, what she went through back home and what she's going through here is that many in the black community have went through this. For many years, the black community has had their leaders either killed, imprisoned, exiled from society.
Mostly I remember her smile and her warmest. The way she talked to me, that is something that I'm never going to forget. I remember in 2001, there was this attack on one mosque in the south side, and we organized the Latino community to show our solidarity with the Arab community. Since then, we have been working together every time one of our community members is facing deportation.
The same forces that have come together to attack Rasmea, those are the same forces that are going to be attacking us and are attacking us already. And we should get prepared accordingly. And Rasmea has helped us a great deal in that preparation just by her spirit.
Many hundreds of Palestinians and our supporters in the U.S. have had to face government repression because of our effective organizing for peace and justice. And it's important that all of you continue your activism despite the attacks.
And when I've lost all my energy and all my faith in this dream, you reminded me that Palestine needs me and she's calling out to me. Palestine is calling out to me through you. And she has been waiting patiently, but no more should she wait because our time for freedom is now.
بالنسبة لقضية رسمية أنا كتير متأثرة ومتعاطفة معاها لأني شعرت إنه هي كانت قضيتها كتير عادلة وهي كانت يمكن انظلمت في قضيتها وما أعطوهاش فرصة إنه تحكي أو تعبر عن قضيتها منيح.
This country goes to wars with Middle Eastern countries, and they say they do it for the liberation of women, and they do it because people back there are not progressive. Well, here you have Rasmea Odeh, one of the most progressive people you'll meet, one of the strongest feminists you'll meet, a woman who empowers 800 Arab immigrant refugee women every day, and you're going to prosecute her. That just shows my community the hypocrisy.
I'm emotionally disturbed by it because I came to know Rasmea on a personal level, and came to know and understand what her commitment is to her people.
I think that the government wanted to make an example of her, somebody that is fighting. The government wants us to be concerned or afraid that something could happen to us, but not only for Rasmea, but also for our community, we know that that's not going to happen.
And we'll just continue doing the work that we're doing because nobody's doing anything wrong,
فلسطين الحرة والحرة وبس، فيش إشي غيرها. إحنا فلسطين وفيش قوة أقوى منا. الحياة فرص وفرصتنا هلا. الحرية إلنا.
We love you, Rasmea. I love you, Rasmea. And long live the solidarity. Long live the Palestine Liberation Movement.
They don't want us to be proud to be Palestinian. They don't want even the word Palestine to come out of our mouth. They don't even want the Arab community united. So we are going to continue to help our community. We're going to continue to organize our community.
We're not happy. We are not happy about what is happening. Not happy at all. I think you're going to find your day of justice. I don't know when, but I think you're going to find your way of justice.
I hope إنه الأيام اللي جاي إن شاء الله تبقى أحسن من الأيام اللي مرقت فيها.
Just continue being strong and continue doing the thing that you're doing best. Love you.
I want to wish you a beautiful future, and we are going to continue building a better world wherever we are.
وين بدي اروح بعرفش، بس اي نقطة في العالم احنا عبارة عن بذرة قوية تنبت في اي مكان حتى في الصحاري، فرح نستمر.
I promise to keep going. I promise to never forget my blood, my home, my people. This community, all of us, we are holding our hands tight with our fingers wrapped around to show that we cannot be broken. And you, Rasmea, well, you're the glue that holds us together. You're the glue that holds this community together, reminding us why we started here in the first place. And I'm here for my friends, my people, and I'm here for you. And we are all here for Palestine, because Palestine is in us and we are all within Palestine, held close, held together, and held with love and strength. We the people, we are Palestine.
Here tonight on a beautiful night celebrating resistance, and the white racist supremacists are marching on Virginia. They killed one person today, a martyr. Three today. The struggle that we're fighting all the time. When I saw Tanya on the screen, it reminded me I forgot to give the shout out to another organization that's in the fight, Organized Communities Against Deportation in Chicago. And all of the main social justice movements and representatives and organizers are in this room tonight in Chicago. We're fighting against those white racists who are trying to make America white again. And what we also know is that we fight in the streets and we organize every day in the streets. But we also know that we have friends in the law, in the legal world, and Rasmea's lawyers are the best around. They have a combined 200 years, of experience battling the United States government, and have defended some of the most prominent political prisoners and national liberation fighters in the history of this country, from the Black Panthers and the Attica prisoners to the Puerto Rican Independistas and the American Indian movement. The most important thing about them is that they recognize and understand that political cases are fought not only by lawyers in courts, but by the mass movement in the streets as well. They support our politics because they agree with our politics. And in Rasmea's case, with the support of the incredible People's Law Office and the National Lawyers Guild, they put Israel on trial in open court in the United States. Huwaida Arraf, Dennis Cunningham, Michael Deutsch, Jim Fennerty, Bill Goodman, and nationally renowned psychologist and torture expert, Dr. Mary Fabry, make up the legal team. Dr. Fabry and Bill Goodman couldn't be here tonight, but please help me welcome the rest of Rasmea's attorneys to the stage. وين عراف Dennis Cunningham, everybody knows this guy, Jim Fennerty. The Rasmea Defense Committee thanks the attorneys for their passionate and brilliant legal defense of Palestinian and other oppressed people in the U.S. and the world. Michael Deutsch is going to say a few words.
One of the great honor and privilege of my long legal career is representing Rasmea Odeh. Her courage, her commitment, her strength and militancy has been an inspiration to me and all the people who are representing her. And not only does she have that courage and commitment and clarity about her support for justice and freedom for the Palestinian people, but she brings it with a great humanity and love for her people and for her supporters. Her smile lights up the courtroom, her smile lights up her people, and she has been a model for us and given us strength in some of the darkest periods of us struggle in the courtroom. Now, we didn't achieve the goal that we set out to achieve, to keep her in this country. And the reality was that it was going to be a very, very difficult fight in the federal court. And even if we won in the federal court, the government was committed to move to deport her anyway, denaturalize her and deport her. So a not guilty in the federal court would not have kept her in this country. And we looked at all the possibilities. We knew that they were going to make it into a terrorism trial and that they were going to try and actually bring up and try to prove what happened in 1969 and call her a terrorist. And after a long, hard struggle and talk, we decided that the best alternative was to take the plea that we took in that federal court. But there were some victories in this case nonetheless. We kept her out of federal prison, and and that's despite the fact that the government was talking about 8 to 10 years in prison. We kept her out of immigration detention. She will never have to go in a U.S. prison or detention center. And we also, with all of you, and because of all of you, we were able to bring out in the federal court and in the public that the Israeli government systematically tortures political people. And that Rasmea was tortured and suffered from post-traumatic stress as a result of that torture. We were also able to show that the sham military tribunals, which convict 99.4% of the Palestinians that go before it, is a sham and illegal under international law. And most importantly, we were able to put forward the idea that Palestinians have the international law right to struggle against a brutal, illegal occupation by any means necessary. So you all played a part in that. You filled the courtroom. You were out on the streets. You gave us the courage to speak truth to power. And Rasmea, we love you and we're there for you forever.
Thanks again, one more time, for the incredible attorneys, Kuwait Araf, Bill Goodman, Dennis Cunningham, Michael Deutsch, and the guy who's been working with the Arab community now, what? You don't get paid all the time, but you work with our community for 40 years, Jim Fennerty.
Before I introduce our entertainment, I would like us to thank our ASL interpreters, Dana Phelan and Balbina Smerling. So thank you for your interpretation. So who's ready for entertainment? All right. So I think most of you are familiar with this next act. They're Chilean brothers, Rodrigo Stars and G.I. They are the two of the most politically active hip-hop artists around, regularly performing at social justice events in the country. They have been supporters of Rasmea throughout her trial and her ordeal, and friends of the Palestinian people for as long as I can remember, or we can remember. I'm honored and excited to be able to introduce these guys as my friends. Please give it up for Rebel Diaz.
1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2. What we're gonna do right here is go back. 1, 2. My beautiful people, one hand in the air like this, please. One hand in the air. Put that fist up into a fist. Put that hand into a fist. We are in celebration today because today we know that Palestine will still be free. Rock with me like this, y'all. Come on, come on, come on. Rasmea, we love you. We love you, Rasmea, we love you. We love you, we love you. Yo, yo, let me hear you say stop the war. Stop the war. Say let's get free. Let's get free. Say it, stop the war. Stop the war. Say let's get free. Let's get free. Back un elefante, no steps, no G1 dice lo que hace. Beat about it, ideas into action. Move past the planet, it's time to save the planet. Where you standing? Which way is you going? Which side is you supporting? They build walls, we show love. They under the dollar, I'm like peace to the gods. Close to the spirits, live life so I spill it. Not stuck or in prison, on the move like infinite. March on the city, my people walk with me. Hands in the air, this life is worth living. Motivate, come on, what's your motivation? Motivate me, what's your motivation? Motivate me, what's your motivation? Motivate come on, what's your motivation? I'm inspired by a letter I got from Lynn Stewart. I just read it twice, so I know that I'm sure. I know it in my heart that the system is abusive. I also know a movement is more than music. If you can't organize 5 people on your block, you should reassess before you bust a wrinkle shot. I know it's nice to roll it up and not do much. Conditions getting worse, so I feel we in a rush. You know karate, come on. You know how to farm. You wake up with the sun, but with an alarm. The leadership's lethargic and your date's a moving target. All you gon' do is cast a stupid old charges. Get the leadership is militant and ready. Come on, we're Farmageddon for the rich and the greedy. Let's see the planetarium at the front of the line. If you ain't know about society, motivate, move. What's your motivation? Motivate, move. What's your motivation? Motivate, Palestine liberation. Motivation, yo. When we say people, y'all say power. People. We say we want, y'all say freedom. We want. Yeah. Make some noise for yourselves, beautiful people. We started by saying that we're in a celebration. And it's also a moment of rage. And that's a dignified rage that we have a right to have. Too often, especially here in the U.S., we're taught that to solve our problems, we got to go to the Democrats or we got to go to the Republicans and say, Please, please, can we live? Can our rights and our lives be dignified? And Rasmea has taught us that the struggle and the power lies in us, in our community, not those sellout politicians and the corporations that they represent. So today we are clear which side we're on.
Put your fists up like this if you feel this music. Let's go. You can stand up too. This is a hip hop show. Let's go. Get up on.
See, I gotta draw the line, I can't take it no more. If you ain't down with revolution, what you waiting for? Making money for suckers and our communities poor. Ripping flags up for puppets, man, this ain't our war. Colonized and terrorized by the world's biggest killers. The U.S. government, the biggest weapon and drug dealers. Filling prisons with children, incarcerating the future. Our space and Facebook, got us stuck on computers. Stuck on stupid weapon music that's abusive to the shorties. The 1970s being, we just listen and absorb it. I've been going, but I'm walking. I'm a giant, I'm ready.
I ride car like Palestinian children holding slingshots. With every single kid that's down for hip hop. The culture, the life, what it really stands for. This music is resistance, it's the voice of the poor. On the side of the workers, the teachers, the lunch ladies. On the streets of brown mommies raising now brown babies. I'm with youth organized, cleaning up the Bronx River. Jaime Escalante when I stand and deliver. I'm with Evo Morales when he running Bolivia. Distribution of the land so we can all live bigger. I'm with Hugo and Fidel, Grandmaster and Melly Bear. With the Panthers up in Queens.
Justice for Sean Blair.
With Camacho Negron, with Ojeda Rios. Freedom for Oscar Lopez, I'm to get in the pill. With a Blue Jamal, with a Sar Shakur. With the compas in the Mocha, you getting the belly door. Which side
are you on?
Shah City.
Yeah, which side are you on?
Con Palestina.
Yeah, which side are you on?
Con Venezuela.
Which side are you on?
With Charlottesville.
Which side are you on?
With Rasmea.
Which side are you on?
Con Rasmea.
Which side are you on?
Con las mujeres.
Which side? See, I gotta draw the line, I can't take it no more. If you ain't down with revolution, what you waiting for? When I say people, y'all say power. People, 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 people.
Son, come up. Come up. So, we're in the middle of a tour called The Ungovernables. This brother represents the struggle of Baltimore, the rebellion that went down in Baltimore. And so, what we also want to share as artists is that as cultural workers, that we are accountable to y'all as a movement. You know what I'm saying? We are not trying to replicate the same ideas of celebrity worship for artists as capitalism. You know what I'm saying? We're not trying to recreate that. So we share the stage with our comrades all the time. You know what I'm saying? Let's get this.
I was born under an apparatus that downgraded my class status from citizen to subhuman savage. It's hard to fathom, but even harder to manage. I'm a second-class citizen in the land of my origin, forced to forage in a brutal reality that's devoid of humanity for some semblance of sanity, where truth is profanity and in all actuality my right to life is considered a travesty. We can't even bury friends without the threat of the military showing up to carry out their vendetta, a policy of extermination against an indigenous population that's been fighting for emancipation. You want to end the violence and the occupation.
Yeah.
Let's get it. Ready? Drop that. Let's get it.
My people, I want one hand in the air like this, one last one.
Let's go.
Yes. Now, say free, free, free Palestine.
Free, free, free Palestine.
Say free, free, free Palestine.
Free, free, free Palestine.
Yeah, when we shopping, bombs are dropping. Ellos saben lo que hacen. Tanques made in USA. Israel army invades. Palestine under siege. No peace if we can't eat. And we locked in. What's the rockin'? When your house getting bombed in, what's the option?
Respond.
To the terrorists, keep it honest. Ain't it violence to keep us impoverished? At a margin, in the projects, are locked in the armed watchtowers. Same system, Seeking features of a system that's based on a mixture of fear and greed. Not need the ones, strong arms and guns, but they can be overcome. So we free Palestine. Louder! Free Palestine! Come on, free Palestine! Say free Palestine!
Hey yo, the boy won't smile. The boy's in shock, cause he just saw his brother get his face blown off. The girl is so sad, she holding on a coffin. Her boyfriend's a casualty to a US rocket. Inferno, death, badly burned skin, blood spills everywhere, the images make me cringe. The mama can't cry, her tears are too dry. Murders, homicides multiplied times 9. The innocent are dying. The news is still lying. The president is quiet. It's a violent crime, no respect for human rights. And they don't seem to care about the loss of human life. Not one single dollar, one single dime should be given in support of this genocide. The Israelis are the killers. They are so wrong. Since I can't afford a bomb, I had to make this song. Shadia, we do alien or huh? Real quick, we want to make some connections. This next song we dedicated to the movement, you know what I'm saying, fighting for immigrant rights, for people's rights, because we are clear that the only people that are not, you know what I'm saying, immigrants in this land are the indigenous Native Americans and our black comrades who were brought over by forced migration. You know what I'm saying? So we're clear. But we hip hop. So we're gonna reclaim the term alien. You know what I'm saying? When I was 12 years old, my mama brought me a green card that said alien. It messed me up, man. But then I said, I'm hip hop. They must call my people aliens because my people are out of this world.
Our people are out of this world.
So when I say I'm an alien, I'm a legal alien, I need everybody in here to go, whoa. We can do that? Let's try that out. I'm an alien, I'm a legal alien. From the diaphragm, I'm an alien, I'm a legal alien. Let's get it, y'all. Drop that beat. We're musical people, we clap. It go like this. Come on. Come on. Keep that beautiful clap going while we look at the great streets of Arizona. Make some noise for DJ Elements on the ones and twos, yeah? On the ones and twos, DJ Elements! I'm an alien from planet Chile, up on the Vermin galaxy, that will be the illest. Come on, welcome to my world, people's universe. Let's have a conversation that'll make us soul. Search Earth, mother, it feels good. Say things that uplift the hood. For what it's worth, we've been here for a while. Follow the moon, take a walk for a mile. In the shoes of the name, let pick your fruit. I won't access the school, I don't want to join your troops. She came to my country, brought a dictator. Gave her money and told her pay me later. The base, the tomato, whatever. The students, the farmers, working together. While I'm getting me out there, no a la guerra. With my buche, siempre, forever. Come on, I'm an alien. Say here, I'm a legal alien. Come on, I'm an alien. Say here, I'm a legal alien. Come on, I'm an alien. Say here, I'm a legal alien. I'm an alien. Say here, I'm a legal alien. Illegal, I am not a human being, I got feet so I walk. If I can't eat, I'm gonna move till I find a piece of the pie and people find life. Wife and the kids deserve more than this. She waitress, he grave shit. Money keep on taking it, bills keep on taking it. Spaceship ain't waiting, but somehow I'm still an alien. Out of this world, outcasted, held captive by second class status. Factories closed and no jobs at home. Wall Street broke, so they blame scapegoats. Hoes they not joke, can't stop a 5-0. How they become the border patrol? I don't know, but what I know is I'm here to stay. If they stop me from my papers, I'ma laugh and say, come on. I'm an alien. Say yeah. I'm a legal alien. Come on. I'm an alien. Say yeah. I'm a legal alien. Come on. I'm an alien. Say yeah. I'm a legal
Come on. I'm an alien. Say it. I'm a legal alien. Today we say that no human being is illegal. We reclaim our right to live with peace and justice in our communities. We reclaim our right to live in balance with Mother Nature. We reclaim our right to black, brown, poor people unity. Today we say that no human being is illegal. Peace, peace, peace.
So, I appreciate y'all. And I appreciate you, Rasmea, for all the work. I got mad love. You know, I'm a product of the first 9/11, 1973, where there was a military dictatorship in Chile. And my whole life, we grew up having an international view of revolution. So I remember being a child and wearing Palestine shirts to school, and the little teachers and people looking at me crazy. But I want y'all to know that the struggle for Palestine is in my veins like any other struggle, but I hold it dear to my heart every day. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. The next sister that we want to bring up is an amazing MC. She's one of my favorite MCs because she's so dope and so powerful, but especially for what she represents and for the work that they do. I want y'all to make some noise and give a Chicago welcome to our sister Shadia Mansour.
If you're here for Rasmea Odeh tonight, I want everyone to raise a fist. And when I say no justice, you say no peace. No justice. No justice. No justice. No justice. No justice. No justice. أنت مسجون كلمة بين وسنين ممتلكي وأنت ملوش من الباقي أنا دول يملكهم المؤلف أنا عطيتك مثال بسيط ومختصر حتى بتاخد فكرة عن مسافة الساحة كما بينك وبين الواقع أنت مثل الوعي الزائد تعرف إيش قيمتك بحالة إنكار زي واحد شايف حاله بالمراية مش شايف قدامه لا حدا كامل أكيد مش طالما أنت متواضع ما راح يتغير شيء أنت مش هتقل عن حافة كبار بعقولهم مش بالسحاب بعيونهم فقط أنت جزء صغير من خطة أكبر بكتير مصممين تستغل مشاعرك بالتحديد شوف كم مرة بدي ذكرك في فرق كبير شوف بالمقاوم والمقررين شوف لا شيء لا يساوي شيء ولا شيء قد يساوي كل شيء وأنت لهم من البداية لا شيء when I say no justice you say no peace no justice no justice no justice no justice no justice no justice when I say Rasmea you say Odeh Rasmea 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 when I say peace can't coexist with injustice when I say peace can't coexist you say with injustice with injustice peace can't coexist peace can't coexist peace can't coexist peace can't coexist thank you my name is Shadia Mansour I'm a Palestinian with a colonial accent. I just want to say, I know I gotta be real quick, but we're not saying goodbye to Rasmea tonight. We're saying thank you, Rasmea. Thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for being more than a Palestinian woman. Thank you for being more than just a freedom fighter. And thank you, more than anything, thank you more than anything for teaching women of my generation and hopefully younger how to be a strong woman, how to be a human being, not just how to be a Palestinian, how to be a human being. We're saying thank you for you tonight. That's what we're saying. We're not saying goodbye. They are deporting one human being, which means the world to all of us. But there are thousands and thousands of Rasmea Odehs in the refugee camps in Lebanon, in Syria, in obviously in Afghanistan, all around the Middle East, in Syria. There are thousands of Rasmea Odehs out here in this building tonight. We have many, many strong Palestinian women, many strong Arab women tonight. And this is, thank you, this is really, I mean, we have to thank Rasmea for setting an example and for teaching us how to be strong women. This song is called The Language of Peace. I called it The Language of Peace because this Middle East peace process that they call the Middle East peace process is probably going to be one of the biggest scandals in the history of politics. If Gaza that's currently being bombed by Israel is not included in this peace process, if the millions of Palestinian refugees are not included in this peace process, then there is no peace in the Middle East at all. Because like I said earlier, peace cannot coexist with injustice. Peace cannot exist here in the United States while you have that wall in Tijuana, that wall that is separating Mexican families from each other, that wall that is killing Chicanos and Mexicans. There cannot even be peace in this country, let alone peace in the Middle East. So this song, The Language of Peace, is really to call out this fake, these scandalous terminologies, and one of them being the word peace. Because we all want peace, obviously. We are peaceful people. The oppressors came upon us, and they attacked us, they attacked our country, and we are resisting, and we are showing them that terrorism is not standing up for yourself, is not protecting your family. That's not terrorism. That's peace. Peace is not a Palestinian walking through a checkpoint in the West Bank and being shot, being gunned down for carrying a phone in their pocket, being mistaken for a gun, or wearing a niqab. That's not peace. That's Israeli terrorism. That's Israeli terrorism. When you keep rebranding what terrorism means, rebranding what a terrorist Muslim is. It's rebranding, that's exactly what it is. It's rebranding and further teaching us how to hate ourselves. And we can never hate ourselves with people like Rasmea in our community and people like Angela Davis. So we're thanking you tonight also, Angela. So let's moving too fast. شعب قاعد بالفعل شبعان من لغة السلام صارت لغة فاشلة ترد اسمع نفسي جمل ورا جمل زهقت مليت من الناس الفيلم خدوا بالكم من الشبه المألوفة من المحمات المرسومة من النصوص المحفوظة انتبهوا كيف اللغة محدودة اليوم يريد تسلموا بهذا ولكن بكرة يمكن يعتبروك شيء كرجل دولة حسب مزاجك صار سلامتنا مش عم بيفيدنا عم بيسمعنا صار سلامتنا مش عم بيفيدنا حالتنا حتى عم بيسمعنا كم مرة اتسمت بدلنا كم مرة اتدمر أملنا كم مرة سكتنا وسرحنا هواء كم مرة محرلنا أكتر من 60 سنة وبعدنا بنستنى كل ما السلام بتعطل كل ما الشعب بتقتل كل ما علامة سؤالة بتكبر من 67 أنا بعاني من لغة السلام أنا بعاني من Thank you. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. I'm guessing half of you speak Arabic, right? And all of you sing. I'm not even guessing, I'm just assuming. Because I'm gonna need your help for this one. You're gonna know the beat, but I'm gonna need everyone to say, Muqawama. It means resistance. Don't worry, we're not dissing no one. But the oppressors. When I say, Muqawama, I want you guys to repeat after me. 1, 2, 3. It's got to be much louder. 1, 2, 3. Hello, yalla. Make some noise for Rod. Whoa, make some noise for Rebel Diaz. I just saw Rod in front of me. Make some noise for my brothers, Rebel Diaz. اضحك تصدق الغني بقول لك بحب الفقير العيب والرضاضة والمهاني بقرا التحضير فك سلاسل الجهل واطلع من تحت شمسية الغرب شوف كيف بطريقة غير مباشرة يساهم بمصيرة الشر اطلع على سفينة الحقائق هيا بجمود عزبة الكوابل بتلاقي السمك تنتحر البحر تعيش بأناديل روس كبيرة بس مخبر فيه شر تعيش بس جمع بمخيمات أفغانستان العراق بيروت فلسطين بتلاقي اشتغل ايام مثل الكوبيين المنسيين ابناء الشاطئ
la violencia existió. El inicio del país más rico del mundo está basado en la violencia como forma de abuso. Ese caos fue enrolado, trasladado para acá, otro posado y vendido para trabajar. Esclavitud en el sur, la plantación del botón. Siempre lo mismo todavía en los proyectos del Bronx. En Luisiana el huracán lo mató, pero como siempre el gobierno se olvidó. ¿Y por qué me tratarán como un animal? Encerrado en la casa como en una jaula. En la escuela hay policía, detectores de metal, y los jóvenes pensando que esto no es normal.
في فرق كبير بين المقاوم والمقررين. في فرق كبير بين مقاوم لك لا شيء لا يساوي شيء ولا شيء قد يساوي كل شيء وأنت لهم من البداية لا شيء.
My own path, mama always told me that. Never let anyone put you down or bad. Be the best in everything you do. Do unto others what you want done to you. Basic trading, human relations based on the way we perceive our exchanges. Faces are strangers, filled with anger up in the subterranean. Chicago subway train is packed to the max. Everyone from working skills not concerned with the touch the higher purpose. Asked him, rejected, where did the time go? Clocked in and clocked out, safety tomorrow. Mind on the space, don't stay like the South was. So now the chains are the best every owner. Condo nightmare make us pay up. Don't they own that beautiful 40 acres?
في فرق كبير بين المقاوم والمقررين. مقاوم. في فرق كبير بين مقاوم. لك مقاومة مقاومة لك لا شيء لا يساوي شيء ولا شيء قد يساوي كل شيء وأنت لهم من البداية لا شيء. Thank you. Make some noise for
Shout out
Diaz.
to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, sis.
Thank you so much. All right, last song. يلا. ده كلنا عند النبات ولا كوفية. Who has a Palestinian كوفية? Who has a Palestinian كوفية? That's the one right there. What up, Huwaida? All right. صباح الخير يا ولاد عمومنا. فضلوا شرفونا. شو بتحب نضيفكم دم عربي ولا دموع من عيوننا؟ بعتقد هيك املوا نستقبل من هيك تعقدوا لما تركبوا على غلطتي من هيك لبسنا البيضة والصودا صاروا كلاب زمان يلبسوها كموضة. مهما تفننوا فيها مهما غيروا بلغة كوفية عربية بتضل عربي. حقتنا بدنا اياها ثقافتنا بدنا اياها كرامتنا بدنا اياها لك كل شيء لنا بدنا اياه. نسقطلن نستحلن ليك لا بقلن يسرقوا شغلة مش إلن ما خاصن فيها مقلدونا. بنلبس لبس كل هالأرض طمعانين اعرفوا كيف تكونوا بشر. جينا نذكر مين احنا وغصب عن ابوهم يحطتنا من هيك لبسنا الكوفية. لأننا وطنية الكوفية كوفية عربي من هيك لبسنا الكوفية. الكوفية الكلام للكوفية. الكوفية عربي. علوه هلا بلاد الشعب كوفية عربية بضل عربي. اكتافي بتعمد للشعب العربي. فرجوني اي امي بالدنيا اكتر مؤثرة. الصورة واضحة نحن مهد الحضارة. تاريخنا وتراثنا نشاهدوا على وجودنا. من هيك لبست الثوب الفلسطيني من حفا جنين جبل النار الى رام الله. خليني نشوف الكوفية بيضة والحضرة. خلينا نعليها لفوق بالسما. انا الشاب بيته العربي الثاني بغوص غزل ثاني بهز هزكري مادي حسجل. انا شاد يا منصور ولا حتى هويتي. انا بدي اوصل السودان الشعبي مسؤوليتي. انا تربيت بين الغرب وبين الشرق بين لغتين بين دخيل بين بعيد. شفت الحياة من الشقتين. انا مثل الكوفية كيف ما لبستوها وين ما شلحتوها بضلني على اصولي فلسطينية. من هيك لبسنا الكوفية. لأننا وطنية الكوفية كوفية عربي من هيك لبسنا الكوفية. الكوفية عربي الكلام للكوفية. علولي هالكوفية الكوفية عربي. علوه هلا بلاد الشعب كوفية عربي بضل عربي. Thank you so much for having me. Rasmea, Angela, I love you both. God bless you all. Thank you.
Let's give it up one more time for Shadia Mansour and Rebel Diaz. Next, I would like to introduce Maysoon Gharabiya is one of the leaders of the AAAN's Arab Women's Committee and has been a partner in Rasmea's community organizing work for a number of years. She will give a statement in Arabic, and after she is done, I will translate it. I'm honored to work with her children. Please give it up for Maysoon Gharabiya.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Maysoon Gharabiya. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. اسمي ميسون أبو غربية. أنا زوجة وأم ل5 أبناء. انتقلت إلى هذه البلد بعد زواجي وعشت الغربة بكل معناها في مكان جديد غير مألوف لي. كل شيء فيه غريب، اللغة، الثقافة، الناس، البلد، وحتى الشوارع. حاولت تلمس طريقي وكنت أتعثر وأنهض من جديد كالطفل في سنواته الأولى، وأجهدت الكثير من الصعوبات والمشاكل. أدركت حاجتي للمساعدة والنهوض. تعرفت على بعض الجيران، ألا إننا جميعا كنا بحاجة للمساعدة لكسر الجدار من حولنا والانطلاق بثبات، خاصة وإن الحاجة والمسؤولية كانت تزداد بوجود الأطفال والأولاد. سمعت عن دعوة لاجتماع جماهيري للآباء والأمهات لمناقشة حقوق الأطفال في المدارس والتحديات التي يواجهونها، وهناك تعرفت على شبكة العمل العربية الأمريكية. سمعت منهم عن البرنامج التي يقدمونها. هناك التقيت مع الأخت رسمية لأول مرة، أعجبت بطرحها بالبرامج التي يقدمونها. قلت بنفسي هذا هو المكان الذي سيساعدنا كأسرة وسيساعدني على تحطيم الحواجز وتخطي العقوبات والنهوض من جديد. انضممت إلى لجنة المرأة وشاركت بمختلف فعالياتها، ومن هناك انطلقت. التحقت بصفوف تعلم اللغة الإنجليزية ودروس الإعداد لامتحان الجنسية، كما إن أولادي التحقوا ببرامج الشبيبة، وهذا ساعدني على التواصل والتقارب معهم بشكل أفضل. أما لجنة المرأة فقد أدارته رسمية بشكل جذاب ومؤثر، فقد وفر لنا بيئة آمنة وأجواء عائلية تقوم على التفاهم والاحترام المتبادل، إضافة إلى التدريبات والنقاشات والورشات العمل الاجتماعية والسياسية والحقوقية التي ساعدتنا على اكتشاف المهارات والقدرات الشخصية، مثل تكريس الثقة بالنفس، تعزيز الاحترام الذات، وتطوير القدرات القيادية، واتخاذ القرارات، والتعلم على كيفية الحد من الفجوة بيننا وبين أطفالنا نتيجة لاختلاف الأجيال والثقافات الخاصة بنا كوالدين من جهة وأبناؤنا من جهة أخرى. وفي فترة قصيرة لمست التغيرات على شخصيتي، حيث أصبحت إنسانة فاعلة ومتفائلة، ونجحت في امتحان الجنسية، وحصلت على رخصة السياقة. تمكنت من تحطيم القيود التي استعدتني طويلا، وأصبحت واحدة من الفريق القيادي في لجنة المرأة. أشارك ببرامج بوضع الأهداف والعمل على تنفيذها من خلال فعاليات مختلفة. أشعر باعتزاز وأنا أقف إلى جانب أبنائي يداً بيد في الفعاليات العامة والاحتجاجات المختلفة، مطالبين بحقوق جاليتنا وحقوق المهاجرين جميعاً. أعمل الآن كمتطوعة في شبكة العمل العربية الأمريكية في برنامج تقوية الأسرة العربية. أشعر بأنني وضعت قدمي بثبات على الطريق الصحيح، وذلك بمساعدة الأخت رسمية، رمز العطاء التي لم توفر جهداً لخدمة ودعم الأسرة العربية والجالية ككل من أجل التغيير الاجتماعي لصالح الجميع، فأنت معطاءة بلا حدود يصعب تعويضها. كلنا ألم لفراقك أيتها الصديقة والعزيزة، ولكننا نعدك بأن نحافظ على ما زرعتيه فينا من نور وعطاء، وسنواصل المسيرة معا رغم الإبعاد والمسافات. I love you رسمية. رسمية ما رح ننساكي. Thank you so much for everybody.
Thank you. And I'm going to do the summarized English translation. My name is Maysoon Abu Ghuraiba, a wife and mother of 5 children. I moved to this country after my marriage and lived as a stranger here. The language, culture, and people were all unfamiliar. I felt like a child again, encountering many difficulties, and I needed help to grow. Rasmea's leadership of the Women's Committee has provided us with a secure environment and family atmosphere based on mutual respect, along with a stronger understanding of social and political issues. It helped us develop skills and increase our confidence. In a short time, I passed the citizenship exam and got my driver's license. I became one of the leaders of the Women's Committee, and now I participate in setting its goals. I stand with my children hand in hand in public events, protests, demanding the rights of our community and the rights of immigrants in general. Rasmea, my friend, the separation from you is causing all of us pain, but we promise to preserve the light you planted in us. We will continue to walk together despite the distance. Thank you, Yassine. The next person I'm going to introduce is Meredith Abby Kirstand, a leader of the anti-war movement in Minneapolis and the co-founder of the Anti-War Committee and the Committee to Stop FBI Repression. In 2001, she was one of the anti-war and international solidarity activists who was raided by the FBI and targeted with grand jury subpoenas. CFSR was founded to defend the Anti-War 23 and other activists across the country, including Rasmea from political repression. Please give a warm Chicago welcome to Meredith Abby Kirstand.
I bring a message of love Well, that's one way to not make me speak from my notes. I bring a message of love and support, not only from Minnesota, where you have many friends, but also from the Committee to Stop FBI Repression nationally. The Committee to Stop FBI Repression is very proud to have stood with Rasmea since she was first arrested by the Department of Homeland Security for alleged immigration fraud. We have mobilized people from around the country for all of her court appearances because we understand that her case is a part of an ongoing witch hunt against Arabs and Muslims who criticize U.S. and Israeli policy and label them as terrorists. Rasmea has been defending and demanding justice for Palestinians most of her whole life. Like the experience of approximately 20% of the total Palestinian population of the West Bank and Gaza, she has spent time as a political prisoner in Israeli jails in the 1970s. There, as was mentioned before, she was violently tortured and humiliated despite the international legal prohibition on torture and ill treatment. Her story is the story of the Palestinian people. We are here because to defend Rasmea is to defend Palestine. Rasmea has been fighting for women's liberation and for the liberation of Palestinian people her whole life, and her leadership was demonstrated at every single court appearance where the entire courtroom was packed to capacity by buses of Palestinian women who came from Chicago to stand with Rasmea. Those buses of people, those protests outside of the courtroom, that said something. And the fact is that when the federal government comes down on people for political repression, that is the response. You need to respond with protest. You need to respond with solidarity. You need to refuse to stand alone. They want people to hide in the shadows and to cower in fear. And it is only that type of public response and fight back that can keep people out of prison. It is only through that that these events can be movement building as opposed to movement crushing experiences. I know this from my own experience, my own campaign. As was said in an introduction, I was one of 23 activists that was subpoenaed in 2010. The federal government, the Department of Justice, wanted me to come and testify against other movement activists. All 23 of us refused to cooperate with that investigation. They wanted to scare us, and we were scared. But they wanted to silence us, and we weren't silent. That type of public response is one of the reasons why I'm here today with you, why I have been able to raise my daughter. That type of public response means something, and I know that we did not get the results that we wanted for Rasmea, but I fundamentally believe that those protests in Detroit mattered. They are the reason why Rasmea is not in prison. The Department of Justice targeted Rasmea because she is an advocate for justice, and they tried to use her as an example to silence others. And I think you can see tonight that they were not successful. Rasmea is not alone, and we are not silent. Thank you. So guess what? We got more entertainment in spoken word style. And I'm honored to introduce these two because if you haven't seen them, you're missing out. Coco Holiday and Jazz Star are the creators of KoStar, a beautiful, gifted duo who are both graduates of the powerful, talented Lyric Squad. They are two dynamic and creative young women with the abilities to silence a room or cause an uprising. Please put your hands together for KoStar.
Hello, how y'all doing? Hey. All righty. All right, so I'm Coco Holiday. I'm Jazz Star. And together that makes KoStar. Thank you so much for having us. This is beautiful. Yes. This is empowering. We're just gonna go ahead and get into some original pieces that we put together. And we hope we bless you all with this. Trayvon Martin got us so depressed. And Eric Gardner made us lose our breath. Goddamn, goddamn. Oh, Lord, goddamn, 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 goddamn. Freddie Greggy, hands up, but still they hanging. And Sandra Black is saying name. Goddamn, goddamn. Oh, Lord, goddamn, 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 goddamn. Is it bitter? Is it sweet, sweet? Is it bland? Is it bland, bland? Tell me, is it bitter? Is it sweet, sweet? No, is it bland? bland, strange fruit hanging from a plastic bag noose. That don't sound right. Then they call it suicide. Like she ain't got no sense of pride. My people ain't no fooling we. Eyes open, eyes shut, they gon' see. Open or they shut, they gon' see. Is it bitter? Is it sweet, sweet? Is it bland? Is it bland, bland? Tell me, is it bitter? Is it sweet, sweet? No, is it bland? Is it bland? Tell me, do you believe this shit? Hell no, they keep getting away with the same things. Sandra would be turning in her grave if we all just shut up and behave. Silence is the new slave. Silence is the new slave. Say now, silence is the new slave. Silence is the new slave. Slave, slave, slave. Is it bitter? Is it sweet, sweet? Is it bland? Is it bland, bland? Tell me, is it bitter? Is it sweet, sweet? No, is it bland? Is it bland? Is it bland? Say a name, goddamn, goddamn. Oh Lord, goddamn, 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 goddamn. Look one McDonald kill without a second thought. They fired 192, but 16 shots. Goddamn, goddamn. Oh Lord, goddamn, 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 goddamn. Shot City, goddamn. Shot City, goddamn. Feel like my city condemned. Feel like my city condemned. The wind in the air be the breath of our teens. We got their blood on our hands and their blood on the streets. My God, the crime rate go up with the switch of the season. Spring right into summer where most of us falling. Miss Blind and Miss Blind was still weeping. Everybody, yeah, they got their opinions. They love to talk, yeah, nobody listen. Are you getting decked in the streets, getting decked in the hall? You would swear it was Christmas. My God, they shooting our stars right back into the sky. Why the hell we keep wishing? Now I lay me down to sleep. Oh, I pray the Lord, my soul to keep. And if I die before I wake, yes, I pray the Lord, my soul to take. 'Cause now we getting down the streets. Oh, and bullets take our souls for keeps. Yes, we sometimes die before we see another day. So I pray the Lord take our souls to safety. Yes, I pray the Lord have mercy on this place. Yes, I pray the Lord have mercy on this place. And that's that piece. Yes, Thank you. Um, Thank you. Okay. So, thank you. So this next piece is also an original, inspired by the late great Maya Angelou. So yeah, I hope this bless y'all. All right.
Go ahead and hurt me with your words. Break me with your smile. Kill me with your lies. But still like dust arise. I'm gonna rise, 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 rise. I'm gonna rise. Yes, I'm gonna fight, 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 fight. 'Cause I have to survive. 'Cause I'm gonna rise.
I know how the caged bird sings. Guess he got the message from Dr. King. Free at last, free at last, free at last, free at last. How can a bird behind bars see past the moon clouds and stars? 'Cause he's got a dream, yeah, he's got a vision bigger than this small space in prison. Oh, I know how the cage bird sings. They try and take away our freedom, but freedom still rings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, our name is KoStar. I'm Coco Holiday.
Jazz Star. Thank you for your time.
One more time for KoStar. They set up 982 chairs in here, and there's hundreds along the wall. We sold this place out. There's over 1,000 people here tonight for Rasmea and Angela. Frank Chapman is the field organizer for the Chicago Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression, and one of the main leaders of the Rasmea Defense Committee. He is an ex-political prisoner himself who was wrongly convicted as a young man and later became a communist in prison. Yeah, you can cheer for that. When he got out, he was an organizer for the campaign to free Angela Davis. So we got three of you sitting right next to each other there. Today, he is one of the primary leaders of the Black Liberation Movement in Chicago and the U.S. and leads the Alliance's campaign to win real community control of the racist and murderous Chicago Police Department. Please welcome my good friend, my mentor, and my regular dinner date, Frank Chapman. The Rasmea Defense Committee thanks the Chicago Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression for its dedication to Black Palestinian unity, to the liberation of Palestine, and to justice for Rasmea.
Okay. Thank you, Comrade Hatem. Well, I want to correct one thing, and I had to correct it right away so I don't forget to correct it. I didn't free Angela, fight to free her. Angela freed me. Angela freed me. And the people, and the people. Thank you, Angela. Yeah, we don't do this by ourselves. We do this with the people. Had it not been for a mass movement, Rasmea wouldn't be sitting here tonight. Had it not been for a mass movement, I wouldn't be here. Angela wouldn't be here. So let me not get away from what I came up here to say. Okay, today, some racist, fascist-minded extremists in Charlottesville, Virginia, rammed a car into some anti-racist protesters. I understand that some people were killed. I don't know the exact number as of yet. But we're living in difficult times. Not in different times, in difficult times. When the president himself, in the most mean-spirited manner, is inciting racist violence and anti-Muslim violence throughout this country. This is the same poison atmosphere that has allowed or that led to the persecution and prosecution of Rasmea Odeh. The same rancid racist atmosphere that gives rise to police murdering our people with impunity. But we refuse to be victims. We refuse to be victims. Our Alliance and the Rasmea Odeh Defense Committee for the last 3.5 years have stood in solidarity against these attacks. We love and cherish the relationship we have developed through Rasmea with the Palestinian people. We have come to love Rasmea for her unshakable courage, for her commitment to uniting the struggles of the Palestinian people to the struggle for black liberation. We have in her the best comrade in struggle. Free, free Palestine. Now to the task that I was asked to do tonight, and that was to introduce Dr. Angela Yvonne Davis. I've only been asked to do this twice in my life, and both times made me uncomfortable. I always get lost for words. So you see me turning pages, but I really don't have anything on these pages. Not right now. I can't capture Angela in a few words, or even a few hundred words. So I have to kind of rely on something that's not very reliable these days, and that is my memory. You see, my memory tells me this, that I met Angela Davis in another difficult time. When I was doing life and 50 years in prison, and she was being called a terrorist by Nixon and facing at first the death penalty herself, and then later life imprisonment. The most massive defense campaign to ever happen in the history of this country, then and now, was organized by the United Committees to free Angela Davis and all political prisoners. And they would not have had that name, all political prisoners, had it not been for Angela. She insisted that the name change. She insisted that the name change. And victory in her struggle led to victories in many other struggles. I could just go on naming cases forever. The Wilmington 10, the Joanne Little case, Mary Eddie James Carthan, Johnny Monty Harris, who was facing the death penalty in Alabama. Numerous people owe their freedom and their life to the struggle, to the mass struggle to free Angela Davis and all political prisoners. That's the best way I can introduce her. Thank you very much. I'm sorry.
Thank you. This has been a phenomenal evening. Thank you, Rasmea. First of all, I'd like you to know what an extraordinary honor it is to be able to pay tribute to Rasmea Odeh, recognizing her decades-long history of activism on behalf of the Palestinian people, her principal challenges to the policies and practices of the State of Israel, her leadership of the Arab Women's Committee of the Arab Action Network, and recognizing the courage she has exhibited in linking justice in her own case to justice for political prisoners, for all political prisoners who have tried to make the world a better place for us all. Thank you, Rasmea. And so I would like to thank Hatem and the Arab Action Network and all of the other sponsoring organizations, including the Chicago Alliance, represented by Frank Chapman. Now, this is a sad occasion because we are saying farewell to Rasmea, who will be leaving the community she has helped to build and sustain over the last decades. Many of us are sad and angry that we could not achieve a complete victory in her case. But we will try to make our sadness and our anger productive. And as Fidel Castro used to say, we will turn a defeat into a victory. We will turn a defeat into a victory. Many of you have stood by Rasmea since 2013 when she was charged with unlawful procurement of naturalization. What kind of a charge is that? And we know that the charge itself was designed to cover up the real reasons for the attack on Rasmea and the Palestinian and anti-war activists who were singled out beginning in 2010. Many of you have stood by her in court as her amazing lawyers have unveiled the political repression underlying the charges against her. You have stood by her as the government has attempted to blunt the spread of support for BDS and the increasing awareness of the apartheid character of the Israeli occupation of Palestine. You have stood by her as ever larger numbers of people have come to recognize the connections between our resistance to the occupation and our challenges to settler colonialism more broadly, including solidarity with the indigenous people of this region. And of course, we convene this evening here in Chicago on colonized land. And we acknowledge the kinship of our defense of Rasmea Odeh to the continued quest of the indigenous people for sovereignty and justice. We also recognize the attack on Rasmea is linked to the intensified assault on immigrants and the ideological cultivation of xenophobia designed to justify these assaults. Walls along the US-Mexican border call up the apartheid wall in Palestine. The attack on Rasmea is linked to the ideological cultivation of misogyny that minimizes the impact of sexual assault and gender violence. Rasmea's case demands that we understand the connection between state violence and sexual violence. We see the state of Israel as perpetrator of sexual violence and trauma, and we see the United States government reaping the benefits of that sexual attack as it has designated Rasmea a terrorist, even as she has suffered under sexual terrorism. But as Rasmea prepares for deportation, we celebrate the fact that the government did not succeed in forcing her to spend years behind bars, which was obviously the plan. And as we reflect on what could have been her fate, we remember our native brother, Leonard Peltier, who has spent decades of his life behind bars and who should have received clemency before Obama left office. We know that from behind prison walls, Mumia Abu Jamal stands in solidarity with Rasmea and with the struggles of the Palestinian people. This city, Chicago, has been the heart of organizing in support of Assata Shakur. And so it is fitting to acknowledge the parallels between the case of Assata Shakur and Rasmea Odeh. In both instances, fabricated charges of terrorism have been deployed in an attempt to dampen a growing movement for justice. Justice for Palestinians, justice for people of African descent, for indigenous people, for Latinx people. The last time I spoke here in Chicago, and that was 2 years ago, right, Rasmea? The last time I spoke at an event for Rasmea here in Chicago, it seems like it was a different era. We had great political aspirations, not only with respect to Rasmea's case, but we felt we were riding the crest of a wave of progressive change. It was less than a year after the protest in Ferguson. The slogan, Black Lives Matter, was echoing all over the world. It seemed clear that the arc of history was moving in a progressive direction. You remember that time? But don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting that the direction of history has changed, even though Donald Trump and Steve Bannon probably think differently. One presidential administration cannot easily reverse the arc of history, as hard as they might try. But I'm simply acknowledging that we are suffering under a Trump effect that was entirely inconceivable 2 years ago. The election of Donald Trump took place 9 months ago. Seems like it was a lifetime, doesn't it? But let us not forget that it was racism that enabled his election. And one indication is the fact that it was the slavery era electoral college that enabled his election. And the persistence of racism today, anti-Black racism, Islamophobia, anti-Latino racism, and the xenophobia that spurs on anti-immigrant policies and practices. This is a pivotal era, a pivotal world historical era, I believe, during which racism is being exposed and confronted all over the world, whether in Europe, and especially anti-Muslim racism in France, whether in Brazil and Colombia, where African-descended people, often in alliances with indigenous people, are leading social movements that call for racial and gender and economic equality. We have recognized that apartheid is not confined to the history of South Africa. And it has not been definitively conquered. The recent and controversial United Nations report entitled Israeli Practices Toward the Palestinian People and the Question of Apartheid, that was co-authored by Richard Falk and Virginia Tilley, points out that the term apartheid is used in the report not for the purposes of castigation or revilement, although the state of Israel should be castigated. But they point out that it is a legal concept that has standing in international law and various conventions and instruments of the United Nations. And as a matter of fact, the Apartheid Convention of the United Nations, and I'm quoting, sets forth that the crime of apartheid consists of discrete inhuman acts, and that such acts acquire the status of crimes against humanity if they intentionally serve the core purpose of racial domination. Certainly, this defines the Israeli occupation of Palestine. Without a doubt, without a doubt. But of course, we have learned how to conceptualize racism within a larger intersectional framework that urges us to explore relationships with gender discrimination and repression, class exploitation, and other modes of domination. And therefore, as the Palestinian solidarity movement has taught us, we should be aware of the way Israel likes to represent itself as the paragon of democracy in the region. And specifically, the evidence it presents, the evidence being that it is a haven for LGBTQ communities. But Israel does not say that it is welcoming to queer Palestinians who call for justice for their people, even as they recognize how important it is to challenge homophobia and transphobia within the struggle. Likewise, it is counterproductive to assume that it is possible to oppose transphobia only when it has become trendy to do so. Those of us in the abolitionist movement, those of us who call for prison abolition, we recognize that no qualitative change will happen in the nature of punishment by simply reforming prisons. As a matter of fact, as we like to point out, the entire history of the prison system is a history of reforms. So there are theorists and activists who long ago reached the conclusion that the very institution of the prison needs to be abolished. Given that the prison is a gendered institution, and that in the first place that gender structure is binary, reflecting the ideology of gender in the larger society, the abolition of the prison will also entail the abolition of gender policing. But I could speak about that more, but what I want to do is make the connection with what we in the abolitionist movement have learned from the Palestinian struggle. If I were to venture a general critique of the prison reform movement, which spans the decades, centuries from the early 1800s to the present, I would say that many reformers, however passionate they might be, fail to recognize that punishment can only be transformed if the social context, if the larger society is radically transformed. And all of those who assume that all we have to do is create better prisons fail to recognize that connection. But when one looks at Palestine, it is self-evident. It is impossible to address the problem of imprisonment in Palestine without looking at the larger society. And if you want to talk about mass incarceration, which is a term that's often used to characterize practices of incarceration in the US, it seems to me that Palestine better fits that characterization. Over the years, almost every family in Palestine has been affected by imprisonment. Since the occupation began, there have been more than 800,000 Palestinians from the West Bank and Gaza imprisoned. 40% of Palestinian men in the West Bank have gone to jail at one time or another. So if we have become accustomed to calling the US a prison nation, Palestine, under Israeli occupation is certainly the worst possible example of a carceral society. The worst possible example. And we learn from Palestine, where that carcerality extends into the larger community, that we cannot trust reform strategies that call for ankle bracelets and house arrests and the extension of other carceral strategies into the larger society. These are just some of the lessons we have learned from the Palestinian movement. Here we are today, having witnessed the nuclear saber rattling of Donald Trump and the failure of the Trump administration to condemn the white supremacist violence in Charlottesville, to which Frank made reference. But who would have ever thought that Marco Rubio would criticize Donald Trump for failing to single out white supremacists as the responsible parties in the Charlottesville violence? Well, I mean, we could also talk about the effort to turn back the clock with respect to the status of trans people in the military, and so forth and so on. But I don't want to rehearse, all of the various issues that have arisen within the last few months. What I want to say is that this is precisely the time to follow the example of Rasmea Odeh. This is precisely the time to intensify our fight back. And I read in the Chicago Tribune today that the so-called Independent Political Review Authority has finally been pushed to acknowledge that the 2012 killing of Dakota Bright was, quote, unprovoked and unwarranted. Unprovoked and unwarranted. We follow the example of Rasmea Odeh when we stand up and fight back, when we intensify our fight back. And I would like to say, Rasmea, thank you for your invaluable contributions. And we know that wherever you are, the struggle will continue. As I was feeling particularly sad about your forthcoming deportation, I thought about a woman by the name of Claudia Jones, a Trinidadian U.S. black woman communist activist who was also deported because of her political activism. When she was, and if you don't know her name, please Google her. And you'll find out that she was involved in the defense of the Scottsboro Nine. She was one of the major feminists of that era who wrote a piece called "An End to the Neglect of the Problems of the Negro Woman." But the point that I want to make is that when she was deported from the U.S. For being a member of the Communist Party under the repressive Smith Act, she became one of the most important organizers of the Caribbean community in London. And as a matter of fact, she is buried immediately to the left of Karl Marx. If you go to the Highgate Cemetery, you see her gravestone. And Carol Boyce Davis wrote this wonderful book about her called Left of Karl Marx. Deportation did not curtail Claudia Jones' organizing, nor will it, I am sure, curtail your organizing, Rasmea. Rasmea, our love for you crosses borders and oceans. Our love for you will never be deterred by deportation. We will always stand together. We will always struggle together. And one day, we will rejoice together in a free Palestine. Thank you, Rasmea.
Once again for Dr. Angela Davis. Thank you very much. Hey, Frank, it turned into a little bit of a red event. So, Dennis, it's still early. It's Saturday night. And I just want to say a couple things before we wrap this up. Meredith talked about CSFR, so I'm going to talk about the other lead organization on the campaign really quickly. USPCN is a national Arab and Palestinian grassroots organization with chapters in 7 states. We are the lead organization in the Rasmea Defense Committee and also organize in support of BDS campaigns and for freedom for all Palestinian political prisoners from all Israeli and Palestinian prisons. If you are Arab or Palestinian and you want to organize in your community here for Palestinian self-determination, for the right to return, and for the end of Israeli colonization and occupation of all Arab lands, talk to us tonight or contact us online at uspcn.org. On October 22nd, 2013, USPCN and CSFR were called to a federal courthouse in support of Rasmea after she was arrested that morning. We again immediately called it what it was, like we did in 2010 when we called it a witch hunt and an attack on the Palestine support movement in this country. We called it an attack on a Palestinian icon and current leader of our community and our movement. We built a strong political defense campaign, educating the public about Palestine and Rasmea, and organizing rallies, protests, call-in days to the prosecutors, and numerous trips to Detroit to show the world that she was supported at every hearing and all 4 days of the trial in 2014. We got one judge to recuse himself because he was a political and financial supporter of Israel, helped get Rasmea out of solitary confinement by organizing hundreds of letters to the new judge to convince him to grant her bail, and really put the case at the forefront of a number of the main social justice movements in the United States. We proved that we could win many battles, and almost, as Meredith and both Dr. Davis said, almost the entire war, if we faced the repression directly and never backed down. We put Israel and the U.S. on trial, and we almost came out on top. Another theme from tonight, our struggle will continue. So even if you didn't before, you now know Rasmea's story. It is the story of Palestine. She is a refugee of the Nakba, a refugee again of the 1967 Naksa, a victim of home demolition and collective punishment, one of the most prominent former Palestinian political prisoners in our history, the first Palestinian woman to ever testify about Israeli sexual assault and torture at the United Nations, an extremely educated woman with a law degree from Palestine and a master's in criminal justice from the United States. A 70-year-old community organizer who still knocks on doors, leaflets in front of shopping malls, and attends a dozen meetings a week. A brilliant political analyst who understands and teaches us about all struggles in the world. A target of Israeli and US government repression who never ever backed down from a fight. And I worked with her in the office for 13 years. She never backed down from a fight. A good and kind friend who is a mentor to hundreds and a mother to thousands. She's an example to all of us, the absolute personification of our struggle, the worldwide struggle for the liberation of all of historical Palestine. Please, Rasmea Odeh.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. First, I will speak a little bit in Arabic to the people who speaking Arabic and to the woman committee who's sitting there. I will begin with some words. Last night I wrote it. I tried to think what I have to say, but I wrote these lines or ideas. Feelings, I don't know what's that. يا أصدقائي ورفاقي، الظلم على الظلم زائل لا محالة. لن أدع الإبعاد يكسرني ولا المسافات تعزلني. دروس الثورة علمتني بأن حبوب القمح إذا جفت تملأ سنابلها الوديان. فلسطينيون والكل يعرفنا، نأكل الطين إذا جعنا ونشرب من الصخر إذا عطشنا. إما أن نعيش صقورا طائرين أو نموت أسودا واقفين. وكلنا للوطن وكلنا فلسطينيون. بعضنا يحمل غصن الزيتون ليسقط البندقية، ونحن نحمل غصن الزيتون لنعيد لأرض الزيتونة الهوية. فليعلم كل التائهين بأن الثورة ستبقى منارا للقضية. يحسبوننا شوكة لو داسوا عليها تنكسر، ولكننا قنبلة لو داسوا عليها تنفجر. أهلي وأحبائي، فكرت طويلا ماذا سأقول. لم أجد كلمات تعبر عما أريد أن أقول. أنتم لم تكونوا فقط أهلي وأصدقائي وسندي، ليس فقط في محنتي وإنما طوال سنين عمري في هذا البلد. وما قضيت هنا معكم هو أكثر مما قضيت مع أهلي وأسرتي، فأصبحتم أنتم أهلي. أنتم أشعر فيكم بداخلي، نبضات قلبي هي نبضات قلبكم، تسيرون مع دمي، لا أستطيع أن أفصل دمي عن عروقي، فأنتم دمي في عروقي، وأنتم الأكسجين الذي أتنفس. لن أنسى بتاتا وقفتكم معي طوال ال4 سنين المحكمة. تركتم كل شؤونكم وكل أموركم وعائلاتكم ووقفتم إلى جانبي، لم توفروا شيئا لدعمي، حتى عندما تطلب الأمر أن تمكثوا أسبوعا كامل بعيدين عن بيوتكم وأشغالكم لم تترددوا، فأنتم السند الحقيقي وأنتم الأهل الحقيقيين الذين أعطيتموني القوة والصمود طوال سنين المحنة. لذلك فأنا مرتاحة رغم صعوبة اللحظة أنني سأفارقكم، لكنني أشعر أنني لن أفارقكم، لأن نضالنا نضال واحد ومستمر، وأنا متأكدة لن تتنازلوا عن النضال من أجل حقوقكم أينما كنتم. مثلي أنا أينما ذهبت وأينما كنت سأواصل النضال. النضال هو واحد أينما كنا، لا يتعلق بالمكان ولا العمر ولا السنوات، وإلى الأمام مع نضالنا جميعا. فشكرا لكم، شكرا جميعا. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Angela, again, for your brilliant words. You inspire me every time I see and hear you speak. I hear that Hollywood is going to make a movie about your life. Would you ask if I can play a role in it? This is a beautiful night and beautiful event because all of you. But it also is very difficult night for me. You are the ones who supported me when I needed you, providing a safe place and warm environment to help me begin a new life away from fear. Even after I was arrested, you embraced and defended me in an unforgettable way. You are all my family, and I don't want to leave you. Really, I don't want to leave you. Palestinian and Arab community organizing has been my life for 50 years. I have worked in Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, and here for 13 years in Chicago with the Arab American Action Network. As you've heard, As you've heard already, I helped establish the Arab Women's Committee, which has over 800 members, including dozens who have joined us tonight. I have to begin by thanking them all for giving me strength to fight this fight for the past 4 years. They are my family and my friends and some of the most important leaders in our community. And I'm honored to have worked with them to organize for women's rights, immigrant rights, and social justice. In addition, I must acknowledge my incredible lawyers and the main organizations involved in my political defense. You met my attorneys earlier tonight, Michael Deutsch, Jim Finnerty, Huwaida Arraf, Dennis Cunningham, and Bill Goodman, and he couldn't come tonight from Michigan. They have been defending political prisoners and movement activists for decades, as Hatem said. They are the best at what they do and the bravest attorneys I know. And I'm proud to also call you all my friends. One more time, please help me thank them. And to the members of the U.S. Palestinian Community Network, the Committee to Stop FBI Repression, and the Chicago Coalition Protect People's Rights. You have fought with me, dedicated so much of your organizational resource to me, and provide so much great political education about my struggle and the struggle of the Palestinian to thousands of people in the U.S. and beyond. I can never fully express what your work has meant to me and my people. We will always be grateful to you, but I want to give special mention to a few organizers who really led the work and truly dedicated their lives to this case. Please help me thank especially Fatma Tabali, please stand up, Fatma. Nesreen Hassan, Nesreen. Muhammad Sankari, Muhammad. Where are you, Muhammad? Basim Kouar, Frank Chapman, George Khoury, please George. Jess Sandin, she couldn't come. Mike Kelly, Sarah Martin, and Joe iceberg. With the incredible supervision of Hatem Abu Daya, who guided the organizing work in an inimitable style. Today, in Palestine, our people are rising up once again. Recently, Israel installed metal detectors and security cameras at the entrance to the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, prompting weeks of protests that continue today. 3 Palestinians were killed and 1,000 injured before Israel was forced to remove the barriers in a victory of popular resistance. But the siege on Gaza remained, and the military occupation continues to commit crimes against humanity, from deportation and collective punishment to the apartheid wall and home demolition to separate Palestinians into small and disconnected communities. We also understand that the racist policies of the U.S. administration are very similar to Israel's political attacks on black people, Latinos, Arab, and other immigrants and communities of color, have emboldened white supremacists to attack members of our communities in the streets. Protection for immigrants like DACA are under fire, and Trump himself has stated publicly many times that the police should be able to brutalize and criminalize black and other communities with impunity. But Palestinians across the world and social justice activists here are not accepted the racism of their oppressors. The resistance is growing daily, and it's the work of all of you in this room that challenges Netanyahu and Trump and all forces of reaction. BDS activists are declaring victory on a regular basis, so regularly that the U.S. Congress and a number of state governments are trying to push through anti-BDS laws. We defeated Trump's first Muslim bans with 5,000 people protesting and shutting down O'Hare Airport and tens of thousands of other protesting across the country. We have won the Trust Act in Illinois and Welcoming Village Ordinance in Oak Park and a number of other towns. We are working hard to remove loopholes from the Welcoming City Ordinance in Chicago. And as Frank mentioned, we are building a mass movement to challenge police crime and win civilian control of Chicago law enforcement. This is effective community organizing that forces mayors and governors and even racist presidents to worry about the next election. I'm proud that I have had the opportunity to organize in Chicago with all of you for 13 years to celebrate victories together and work harder together after losses. This work is proof that we can build broad coalition and alliance to fight for social justice. All of our struggles are connected, which is why Palestinian and members of Black liberation and other movements in this country have built an unbreakable bond that prompted Angela Davis, one of the most famous former political prisoners in the world, to speak publicly on behalf of me. That prompts leader of the Puerto Rican independence movement in the city to ask me to speak the homecoming of the wonderful Oscar Lopez Rivera. When he was released after 36 years as a political prisoner. That prompts the Arab Women's Committee to join Latinos, Asian, Africans, and others in protesting mass detention and deportation by ICE. And that prompted the AAAN to rally with Movement for Black Lives for CPAC or May Day, or in solidarity with the families of the murdered Lagwan McDonald's, Rekia Boyd, and Ronald Johnson. My defense committee built broad alliance as well with women's rights, anti-torture, immigrant rights, Black liberation, and Palestine support organizations. It was active through the U.S. from the Bay Area, Michigan, and Wisconsin to Chicago, Florida, and New York. It confronted my racist prosecutors at every hearing and the trial in Detroit and investigate their direct relationship with Israel, uncovering the collusion that we already know and understand. U.S. military, political, economic, and diplomatic support is the only thing that allows Israel to continue its colonization and military occupation of Palestine. That's why we organized for Palestinian rights in the U.S. because it's this government that must also be held responsible for Israeli state terrorism against my people. And that's why my lawyers and my defense committee put both Israel and the U.S. on trial during the case. The case had nothing to do with immigration. It was about Palestine. It was about the U.S. government trying to prevent me and other Palestinians and all people who fight for our rights from organizing to support the liberation of Palestine. But they did not and cannot prevent us from doing this work. They will not intimidate us into giving up even an inch of our rights. We are winning this battle with the Zionists. You are winning this battle, and we will never stop organizing until all of Palestine is free. In closing, I want to declare that I'm Palestinian Arab American Muslim woman. The Israelis committed massacres and expelled my people, including my own family, from our homes and lands at gunpoint in 1948 and 1967. But it failed to divide us, weaken our collective struggle, or shatter our determination for freedom and liberation, because we are a nation that cannot be broken. What does not kill us makes us stronger. And if it kills us, a new generation that will continue the struggle is born each and every day. The right to return is a collective right that belongs to the Palestinian people as a whole, as well as to Palestinians as individuals, and cannot be bargained away by anyone in the world. If I was allowed to uphold my right to return to Lifta, my village, and Jerusalem, I will leave right now before finishing my speech. But I'm not leaving of my own free will. I'm being forced to leave. But regardless of where I land, I will continue the struggle for freedom and liberation, because I'm fighting for us all, and we have rights that no one can ever take away from us. The rights of the oppressed are like the sun. They cannot be covered with screen. And so I ask all of you here in the US to continue supporting my struggle and the struggle of my people for freedom, because all we want is freedom. I love you all, and I always will. Thank you.
Rasmea!